On a side note, Blake Horvath just broke a 96-yard touchdown rushing. Sorry. Anyway, if y'all can't tell, it's bowl season, and Navy's. Oh, he didn't score down at the 1. Whatever.
Yeah.
Navy's hanging with
I picked
Oklahoma.
Navy.
Same.
I flipped my pick today to Oklahoma.
Idiot.
Well, it'll pay dividends if
Dude.
Oklahoma wins.
That's true. That's
Look,
true. Trying to catch back
as
up.
someone who did some of this off vibes, all I'm gonna say is, and we'll move on because we have other things to talk about. I'm not picking against Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl.
That's a good point.
Well, I'm saying.
Solid. Anyway.
Anyways, moving on to the nightcap of the quarterfinal games. We go over to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. Georgia Bulldogs against the Notre Dame. Yeah, we're gonna be up late. 8:45 kick, which means you're probably not actually getting meaningful football actually being played until at least.
Yeah.
So it'll be a late night for both the Irish and the Dog faithful. But this is also an intriguing one for both these teams. Interesting spots. Obviously, Notre Dame played very well against Indiana.
Yeah.
Got it going on the ground, played good defense. Notre Dame has really been rolling since NIU. They haven't really, they have, I'm trying to think of their whole resume. They beat Army and Navy. There wasn't really any game that was a super close margin since they got upset early in the season. So this Georgia will obviously be the best team that they've seen this season by far. And then Georgia coming off the come from behind in the second half win against Texas in the SEC championship. Carson Beck out for this, not only this game, but the entire postseason. So it's Gunnar Stockton's team now. And I'll be very interested to see how Georgia has used these past couple of weeks and what kind of tweaks they've made to that offense and the game plan. Because, look, Gunnar Stockton and Carson Beck are two very different quarterbacks. Carson a bit more of a gunslinger, kind of lankier, taller guy. Probably has, not saying Gunnar doesn't have arm talent, but probably has more natural arm talent, whereas Gunnar is kind of more of a Stetson Bennett prototype.
I was about to say,
where
pulled out the
binder
you can roll out
place.
Yeah, they did.
Get Todd Monken on the line. We need to cook up some magic, but no, it'll be a very
Lambo, one drives an F-150. Just
we're gonna see that little QB differences they put in for the Natty. Do you remember that? Where he fakes that handoff and then he just darts the sideline. We're gonna see that
right to the pylon. Yeah, that's a good callback. I think they should do that, and they should adopt more of that because that's Gunnar Stockton's strength over Carson Beck. Is you can run bootlegs, you can run stuff outside of the pocket. Not saying Carson couldn't get outside of the pocket, but not to the point where you're designing plays for him. He can do it when you need to, but you don't really want to rely on that because it's not a very high percentage of something going right in that scenario.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this is going to be about the Georgia offense. Obviously, Notre Dame is not the best team Georgia has seen this season. I'll put that out there. I know some people may disagree. A lot of people are really high on Notre Dame and have them go all the way. I don't think they're better than Texas. Obviously, Georgia kind of ran the gauntlet this year when it came to their schedule, playing a lot of tough competition and having to beat Texas twice.
Yeah. A lot of top 15 teams.
Yeah.
So to start on the Georgia side, I think guys are just going to have to step up outside of Gunnar. The team's going to have to rise to the occasion and help him out, whether that's guys on the offense, wide receivers, running backs, Trevor Etienne, or even the defense playing to the level that they played against Texas. That's the path to a Georgia victory. And then for Notre Dame, obviously, you want to attack the biggest weakness, which is your unexperienced backup quarterback.
Yep.
And if I'm Notre Dame, I'm making him beat me through the air. So,
well, you're going to make the Georgia wide receivers attempt to catch the ball. That's
attempt to make separation and then watch the ball, have it hit their hands and grip it and tuck it. And take 2 steps,
and then potentially
which is
fall
not
on the ground.
Very good.
They do not do that very well. Apparently,
that's what I meant to say. Yes.
Yeah. So. But yes, That is a good point about Georgia. I mean, and we saw it in the SEC championship game. Like, the team looked a little deflated with Carson at quarterback. I'm not saying that, Carson was the problem. I'm just saying I feel like the team kind of had a rallying point around a backup quarterback where the rest of the team recognized the fact, like, listen, we love Gunner. He's a great kid. But he is not our starting quarterback. He's a backup coming into the midpoint of the postseason. And winning this game is not imperative, but pretty damn important for the success of us making a run into January. And I think that, as I think I've said it on tape, where, hey, all of us are former blocking people, whether that be an offensive lineman or a fullback. When you have a backup quarterback come in there, I feel like you kind of, all right, let's go. We are going to win this game. We're going to open up the running game, take the pressure off of our backup, and lead us on. And that's exactly what they did, coupled with Gunner's legs, and he threw a dart to get us a first down. And it was a great offensive drive from an offense that looked inspired and was able to rally around something. So if we can continue that and have our backup quarterback get a little more confidence, a little more comfortability with the playbook, increase his knowledge from that many pages to maybe that many pages. I mean, that's all you really need with a defense like ours. Sorry, like Georgia's.
Completely unbiased.
Completely unbiased opinion. But taking a look at the Notre Dame side, listen, we don't have to go look at Georgia's schedule. We know they've played at least 5 games against a top 15 opponent. Considering how the first round of the playoffs went, some would argue they played 5 games against 5 top 12 opponents.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation for last week. But I mean, looking at Notre Dame's schedule, they have the great win over Texas A&M week 1. Listen, that was 4 months ago almost. So it's not a non-factor because of how you win the games on your schedule no matter when they are. They go on your resume, but that was 4 months ago. And then after that, I mean, Louisville, it's a good win. Army, I mean, I'm not going to call the Navy.
Well, I'm not trying to discount Service Academy wins.
Yeah, and I'm not going to call the Navy.
Let's be for real for a second.
Yeah,
they were both in the top 25 when they played them. Yeah. They're not bad, but God,
they're not.
I don't know. I'm not.
They're not Texas.
Yeah.
And then you can flaunt it as a top 25 win. They were good wins. Those teams are by no means an easy out. That's not what I'm saying. But it kind of
like shit through a
can inflate.
Yeah.
They kind of inflate that stat, and you can throw it around how you will, but you got to know really what's behind it.
As someone who had money on Navy to cover, Navy turned the ball over 6 times. They did not play Navy football. All right. So I don't really count that win over Navy as a win over Navy. And yes, they beat the brakes out of Indiana. Good job. Good job. Genuinely good job.
But that ended up being a 10-point game.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the transitive property, tell me who Indiana's big win is over. All right, I'm just saying, strength of schedule, strength of record, obviously on the Georgia side of the ball. Strength of starting quarterback, obviously on the Notre Dame side of the ball. Riley Leonard been playing well this season. I mean, he's got almost 2,300 yards. I mean, pretty well-balanced offense. I mean, he's got 2,200 combined rushing this year. They've got 2,800, obviously, with Jeremiah Love shouldering the most of that weight. But I don't know. This is by far the best team that Notre Dame will have played all season long. And if you're looking at athletes, going with the Georgia side of the ball, if you're looking at seniority behind the helm at quarterback, it's going to be the Notre Dame side of the ball. Defense, Notre Dame or Georgia side of the ball. Coaching staff, Georgia side of the ball. Martin Freeman, right? Like really good young coming up coach. But it's Kirby Smart, right? And Kirby has kind of reestablished himself in my mind as one of the best coaches in the game after, I mean, I'm not going to lie, a little mustard seed of doubt got put in there after we got beat like a drum by Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But we've come back, beat Texas again, and we've got some rest. Kirby's able to prep, and hopefully we got to see some things on tape of that Indiana game. So, obviously, in my completely unbiased opinion, Georgia's going to win in New Orleans. I mean, it's going to be not a home game, but Athens is a lot closer to NOLA than South Bend is. So,
fair. I think for me, and we've touched on the quarterback enough. I think any more quarterback analysis would be beating a dead horse. Personally, I think Stockton's going to be fine. What he showed, the moxie he showed in the SEC championship, makes me believe he'll be okay.
Good on him for holding on to the ball, by the way.
Yes, holding on to the ball security.
That man was unconscious practically.
That was a car crash.
Sark in his pregame for the Clemson game was telling, I guess, the ESPN reporter, like Holly Rowe or whoever, basically, it's like, I don't know how he held on to that ball. Like, just, I don't either. So, credit to him. But I think for this Sugar Bowl, I think a deciding factor of the game is going to be on Riley Leonard's shoulders, just because Alabama and Ole Miss beat Georgia this season, and they did it by attacking the Georgia secondary. There were some guys, Julian Humphrey no longer with the team. Daniel Harris is starting now, very young. I don't want to say inexperienced anymore, because this season they got some valuable experience, but very young, very talented secondary. Can the Notre Dame quarterback take advantage of that? And I don't know, like Dalen Everett had the game of his life against Texas in the SEC championship game.
He did.
He has improved vastly this season. So I don't know if that's that much of a weakness for this Georgia team anymore. Like in Tuscaloosa at the end of September, I would have said, hell yeah, that's the team's biggest weakness. You know, it was better in Oxford in November, but still wasn't there. I think they've done some growing up in the past month or so, and I think it's going to be less of a weakness, and Notre Dame is going to have to do a better job on the other side to try to exploit that weakness, because I don't think you're going to be able to run all that effectively on this Georgia front, especially with Jalen Walker, especially with Mykel Williams, especially with Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse, all those guys rested, healthy. I don't know. That's where I'm at. I think they're not able to take advantage of that. I think the secondary picks off Riley Leonard a few times, and Georgia gets out of there with a win.
Okay. Close or
10 points. 10-point victory.
Okay. Good deal. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'd take it. I'll go ahead and say my final piece. Look, obviously all of us are high on Georgia, whether that's for bias purposes or, we actually believe it, which we do. But for anybody watching this that isn't a Georgia fan, maybe is a Notre Dame fan, I do want to give some insight, because I feel like as a Georgia fan, I could sit here and probably tell you how Notre Dame's going to try to beat them. Because like Noah said, a lot of this is going to come down to Riley Leonard. A lot of it, in my opinion. Because Georgia does not have a very good track record against quarterbacks who are mobile. You look at what Jalen Milroe did to them, at least in the first half of that game. I know we're talking about games in what was that, October, September still. And then you had very much more recently, Haynes King have a career day on the ground against Georgia. You had even that quarterback for UMass, running the read option. And that's a wrinkle that Georgia has seemed to have not responded to the best this season. Now, look, this is a playoff game, so I'm not saying that Georgia won't have a plan to be able to contain the quarterback and do what they did in the second half against Alabama. However, you have to keep them honest, and you have to make them do that, because that opens up other wrinkles in your offense that you can throw in there. So I think that's majorly important, is for that. Riley Leonard is going to have a career day. I think, or not career, but he's gonna have to. The game's gonna flow through him for them to have success on offense. Obviously, Jeremiah Love is a good running back. However, I think he's probably to the level of. You can argue about which running backs are better, but he's not much better or worse than the Texas running backs, in my opinion. He's a good running back, but Georgia will have the front seven to, if not completely stifle him, to slow him down a lot more than what he's seen this season, because this will be the best front seven that he's seen this entire season. So it's going to be a lot on the shoulders of Riley Leonard, and then obviously, I won't beat a dead horse, but they want to make Gunnar Stockton win this game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Want to make it
Georgia this season, and I will say the one thing I'm a little worried about as a Georgia fan, and I would be worried about for any Georgia fan, is that the running offense this season has not been to the Georgia standard. I don't know where they rank, but it is much outside of what it currently or what it usually is with the backfields that Georgia has. Obviously, ETN. There's been some injuries in that backfield, and young guys like Nate Frazier have had to step up. ETN has had a couple of good games against Texas. Those are really his breakout games. But other games, the run game has been a bit stifled. So they're obviously going to try to. Notre Dame's going to try to do that and make Gunnar beat him through the air. So it's up to Georgia to have the game plan to kind of counteract that. But I just think, I don't know. Obviously, I like Georgia, so. But I wanted to give some insight into the Notre Dame side because we could sit here and talk about Georgia for a lot longer, I think.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we'll see. As the kids say. Time will tell. I mean, yeah, Riley Leonard has legs. Like he uses them when he needs to. I mean, he got 750 rushing yards on the season.
I think they need to use them in a designed manner, though, if they want to cause some real. I mean, because obviously, when there's breakdowns and you can scramble, Georgia has been susceptible to that. But you look at, I would look at not saying that Riley Leonard is to the level of mobility of Haynes King, but go look at that. They had a lot of success.
Well, he's going to be a factor in the red zone because he has 15 rushing touchdowns. You're just gonna have to game plan for that. Anytime they get near the end zone,
read option, probably a heavy dose of it.
Yeah. I mean, he almost leads the team in rushing touchdowns. He's second to Jeremiah Love by 1. So.
Wow, he's only 1. I didn't know he had 15 on the ground.
Yeah, 15 on the ground, only 17 in the air though. So, not bad.
But... Yeah. So, I'm sure, like you said, it's a big red zone wrinkle because I'm sure not a lot of those totes into the end zone have been from very far out.
Correct. So, I don't know. It'll just be something to keep in mind. I don't see Riley Leonard, breaking a 35-yard rush, near midfield to get into the red zone. But once we do get into the red zone, then it could be a factor. But that's all I'm saying. Yeah. But I'm going to say and predict and hope and pray to God that Georgia wins this game by multiple possessions. But I don't know. Just with how
all I'll say is I think Georgia covers. That doesn't say much, but I think they cover.
Yeah, I'm scared.
2-point spread.
I'm scared. I'm scared it will be closer than I want it to be, and that's what I'm prepared for. But
it's kind of been Georgia's MO this season, and as a fan of Georgia, you have to be mentally prepared for that going into this game. However, if you are you don't have a dog in the fight, it's probably more likely than not going to be a good game.
Yeah.
Just to key you in on that, because if it's not been evident, Georgia does not always start the fastest. So once they finally wake up, they're a very dangerous team.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how we come out, or Georgia comes out after a week off and all the game planning. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw Tate Ratledge on his podcast. I guess they got an email that was like, "Hey, Tate, why does the offense start so slow?" Listen, if we knew why we started slow, we wouldn't be starting slow. You don't go out and plan to start slow. All right, guys, first drive, 3 and out. Second drive, we're going to get 1 first down and then punt. And then the second quarter rolls around. We're really going to start playing. Like that's just not how this works. But I don't know. That needs to get fixed quickly, and yeah, if that can get fixed, then it shouldn't be a problem. But you let Notre Dame hang around, it's going to be an issue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Noah, do you have anything else to add? I know
No.
we're probably beating a dead horse here.
Yeah.
We
That's
can
all
talk
good.
about this for a while, but
Yeah.
so we're all picking Georgia. But look, I think it'll be closer than maybe some people will say. I know obviously the spread is saying it's close, but with the trend of Georgia games this season, if we're continuing on the path that we left off at, last two games going into overtime,
Yeah.
probably in for a treat as a viewer who is not a fan of either of these teams. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind. Definitely one to watch. All of them are ones to watch though. Should be hopefully significantly better than the first round of the playoff. If not, we're in trouble. So
Yep. Take us home,
all
Brandon.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that about does it for the quarterfinals. So if you're watching in the long one, we appreciate your viewership, or any of them really. This will be tacked on to probably the final recap, the Georgia Notre Dame one. So if you're coming from that one, thank you for watching. Go watch the other ones. Go watch the long one, or anything you want, any right now. But no, really, the support that we've seen recently has meant a lot to us. We're chasing right now the goal. Short term goal is 750 on YouTube, and then obviously 1K eventually. We're getting close to 750, and then if you're over on TikTok, that's been going crazy. Thank you, and then Instagram too a little bit recently. So wherever you came from to get here, 731. Yeah, there you go.
731.
So however you're seeing this, whether this is your first time seeing a long form, just coming across it on YouTube, or if you came over from the short form, we appreciate you for your viewership and continued support. Um, be sure to subscribe and stick around. I mean, we're going to be covering the playoffs in pretty fine detail through both long form like this, and then a lot through short form. We do a lot of stuff over there. So follow us anywhere on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Get a little Shorts plug, but no, it's meant a lot, and we're gearing up for what will hopefully be an awesome rest of the off season. We've got a lot of good football left, um, so excited to see more of that down the stretch. Yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.